In this video, I'm going to be going through the astrological houses and how they contribute to the lunar nodes, also known as. I'm going to be explaining each nodal placement and tying it into the houses. So, the nodes through the houses. So the north node through all 12 houses, and the south node through all 12 houses in astrology. Now, the lunar nodes are, in astrology, they are bodies, they're planetary bodies. They are directly opposite each other. So if the north node is in the 12th house, the south node is going to be in the 6th house. So there's 12 houses. Each of the houses correspond to the 12 zodiac signs. So you have the first house is Aries, the second house is Taurus, etc. So back to the nodes. The nodes are the nodes of the moon. And so the south node is what we're already coming in with, our gifts, our talents, our comfort zone, our habitual patterns that we come in with that we're so used to, sort of the place that we can default to or drop back into. It's our comfort zone, and we're very familiar with the sign and house that the south node is in our own natal charts. It represents, who you really are in terms of your feminine self. And it can also link to your innate emotional needs. But then the North Node deals with your needs in this lifetime to grow, to, expand yourself, to evolve. The North Node is where you need to put in the focus, the work, and cultivate the traits and qualities of that North Node to develop into a much more, transcendent version of yourself. Getting the Emmy Award for being in a movie as opposed to being a typecast actor or actress. The typecasting is your South Node, while getting, an Emmy Award, winning the Academy Award, is the North Node. So that's another way of doing it. So the North Node is new territory. It can be challenging and scary, and it may be the last place that you want to go towards. But if you want to feel happy and that your life is filled with purpose and, enriching meaning on a soul level, then your North Node is definitely what needs to be integrated. As well as, with your South Node, not getting too caught up in the South Node, but not also going too far into the North Node that you lose your sense of who you really are, and that you forget to drop in to that and come back home and relax and take a breath and find a place to land, because that North Node can be all-consuming at worst. And there's a sense of it never being enough. It's just never satisfactory, no matter how much energy we put into each of the nodes individually, the North Node and South Node on their own. It's never going to feel like enough unless that balance is there. So that's the other really key thing about the North Nodes, is that it's not an either or, it's a both and. So the houses in astrology 1 through 12 are the areas of life where, let's say, a planet in a certain sign, where it shows up, where you're expressing, showing, putting in that energy, those gifts, those personality traits, those habits, and what you need to grow and develop into in this lifetime when it comes to a part of your purpose and your destiny and your personality, which is your blueprint in your natal chart makeup. So the houses are the areas of life that whatever placement in your chart will show up in. So, and all those houses really tie into houses 1 through, all 12 of the zodiac signs. And I'm not going to go through every one of the houses because then I would be giving away everything that I want to explain in this video. So I'm going to go through the meanings of the houses as I go through the different nodal placements. So let's start. Hopefully there will be timestamps for you to find where your your north node and south node placement is. You can skip directly to that, or you can learn about other people's north node south node placements in terms of the houses. I am going to be covering all of the house placements for the south and north nodes in this video, so this may be a long video. I have a whole series of videos that I just got done filming about the South Node and North Node through each of the 12 signs. So, so the South Node is in Virgo, the North Node's in Pisces. That's one of the videos that I filmed, and you can find the other 11 videos on my YouTube channel if you're interested in finding out what the South Node through the signs mean, or the North Node through the signs mean. But on this video, it's going to be all of the houses. So if you're interested in another house placement, and the south node, so let's say your south node's in your 7th house, the north node's in your 1st house, but let's say you're interested in the south node in the 2nd house, the north node in 8th house, well, you can skip directly to that part of the video, or if you know someone with that placement. So you don't necessarily have to have that placement in order to find insight and value and meaning from the information that I'm going to be giving. But you can do whatever. But preferably listen to your own placement, your own South Node house placement and North Node house placement. And again, it's going to be directly opposite. So if your South Node's in your 1st house, the North Node's going to be in your 7th house. So that is the first placement that I'm going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get into it. So if the South Node if you have your South Node in your 1st house, then many past lifetimes were spent on your own. You were independent. You were a pioneer of your life. You were self-sufficient. It really was about you being an individual and perhaps trying to survive. It was all about, your needs and wants before anybody else's. And maybe you would have to fight for those things to be able to get those things. So being alone is very comfortable, very familiar. Being independent, being self-sufficient, as I said before. And the other downside with the South Node in the 1st house is that you may have acted either aggressive or impulsive to get what you want without considering others, needs and feelings and opinions of you. And, developing relationships others was not a focus for you in past lifetimes. So those aggressive tendencies can come up. Those self-righteous and self-centered tendencies can come up. But when the North Node's in the 7th house, which is directly opposite the 1st house, you're really here to learn about relationship, to get along with other people, to share the experience of having another person in your life, either through a business relationship or a marriage. That's how it can show up. So you're here to understand how to connect with them spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually. And you're here to learn about giving to the other person, being of service to the other person, helping them out on their journey, being with them, spending time with them, but also receiving the love and the nurturing and the help and support from them as well. So that's another key piece of this. So you're here to learn about compromise, healthy compromise, not codependency. That's the downside if you want to fall to the extreme of the North Node and South House. You're here to learn about give and take. And so, yeah, the back and forth motion of relationships that it really takes two to be in a relationship to make a healthy, relationship. So you're also here to listen to other people, understand, the values and opinions of others, and consider what they're thinking and feeling. And you're also here to approach conflict if conflict or arguments would show up. You're here to approach in a healthy way, considering the feelings of others, validating them, acknowledging them, and working things out with other people, making solutions collaboratively. And so, yeah, it's not about being dismissive of others. It's about including and being open to them. And it really comes down to listening, allowing people to be themselves and have their say, and have their needs and wants be clear. Allowing them the space to pursue their needs and wants. So, being in a relationship that is co-independent, where you're, independent, you have your own pace, you're doing your own thing, you're living your own life, you're being, a pioneer, you're, being self-sufficient, why you're in the relationship, you're following your goals, but then you're also doing it with another person. So, you're here to cooperate with other people and striking that balance in your relationships, having a healthy, balanced relationship where each person is playing a part. Each person is doing their bit in your relationship. This is, really super important. Again, it's that, give and take, where each one is valued and equal. Another key thing with this is to take advice from other people. And any career choice for you that involves working with others, collaborating, is going to be huge. If you want to, speak your truth and be, assertive and all that, it's important to do it in a kind and diplomatic way. And striving for peace, to get along with other people, to have healthy relationships, and to, because you want peace, because you care, you don't want, a separation or, divide or conflict or those kind of things, because that's what it's all about. So it comes down to sometimes putting the others, the needs of other people first, honoring the others' needs, again, allowing people to be, fully who they are and express themselves in their fullest without controlling them. So now, if your South Node is in the second house and North Node in the 8th house, the thing about South Node in second house, it's similar to having your South Node in Taurus and the North Node in Scorpio, which I have several videos about on my YouTube channel. So the South Node in the second house can be sort of a hoarder. You're sort of keeping all of the money and resources and possessions to yourself, because that second house deals with your possessions and the things that you earn and you attain and you accumulate through your own efforts alone. So you're keeping all of the money that you have worked so hard to earn and to get, and all of those resources to yourself. You're very familiar with making your own money, being self-sufficient, making your own way, pursuing your own, goals, and having a sort of steady job where you can put in the hard work and time and energy to make the bank at the end of the day so that you can bring home the bread and butter. And so, this comes down to many past lifetimes of, again, making your own living, making your own money, being a provider of some kind. And so owning a lot of physical and material possessions. You may be very familiar with what makes you feel good and what you need to take care of yourself and your needs in the physical world. And it may be very difficult to give up those possessions. And so, definitely understanding, the value of the possessions that you created. There's certainly an understanding of that for you. Why, I've worked so long and hard and I put so much time and energy into attaining this, into being able to get this. Why give it away? Why share it? Why give this up? So, but that's what the North Node in the 8th house is about. Because the North Node in the 8th house really is when you hold too tightly to certain beliefs and to certain material things and to certain possessions that you have. You hold too tightly onto these things, then it can be difficult to let go and have healthy relationships. So the North Node in the 8th house really deals with letting go of what no longer works for you in your life. What kind of objects are laying around your house that you want to get rid of, that you want to, sell or give away, that you no longer need. It's not wise for the person who has their South Node in the 2nd house to keep and hold such a tight grip on their possessions. Because it's, not about that, because all suffering leads to attachment, and sometimes you have to lose everything to gain everything. So you will be surprised how fresh and uplifted and re-energized and revitalized and refreshed and cleared out you feel. There's a regeneration and a beautiful transformation, which, by the way, are key words for the North Node and 8th house when it comes to letting things go that no longer work for you. Maybe letting certain ways of how you approached certain matters, or especially physical possessions. You're also here to work with, probably put yourself in a relationship with powerful people and understand the value of money that was given to you, not necessarily by your own efforts alone through a salary or through a paycheck, but understanding and getting more involved in the likes of banks, corporations, and those kind of organizations giving you money. You're really here to receive other people's resources and money and what they have to provide to you. So it is about sort of allowing, the universe to sort of come to you, and it's about allowing other people in and being in a sort of energetic state where you're, flowing, with the universe. You're allowing things to come in and come out. You're, receiving energy and resources, and you're sort of synergizing with other people. You two come together and create something that the two of you in the relationship, let's say you get in a relationship with somebody, you're creating something with this person that you never would have thought that you could accomplish on your own. But what happens is something amazing, something miraculous is created because you paired up with this powerful person. and all those kinds of things like that. So it is about the power and what you can create when you, empower other people to be self-sufficient, create their own resources, provide for themselves, make their own living, make their own money, attain their own possessions, all those kind of things like that. So, accepting change, accepting things to be released from your life and change in terms of your physical environment, in terms of your possessions, all of this is very important. Really comes down to the willingness to share your resources with another, and to allow them to share their resources with you, and to allow that energetic exchange. And don't let holding on to your personal possessions inhibit or get in the way of your relationships with others. And so another thing with the 8th house, the North Node in the 8th house, is really going deep into psychology and the occult topics, the secretive kind of topics, understanding the emotions of other people, understanding why they do what they do, understanding their intentions, and really being receptive to what they're thinking and feeling on an emotional, spiritual level, where your psychic and intuitive abilities can really, go to the gym and, get themselves worked out. And strengthening those things can be a very good thing and healthy, beneficial thing for you, where it's about, perhaps going to therapy, feeling those deep, dark, and intense emotions, and maybe the things that you bury under the surface that you didn't want other people to see or to know, or to notice about you. It's really a lifetime of allowing yourself to be emotionally vulnerable. Feel those feelings, allow those deep feelings to be there, and to share those kind of feelings with other people. Going into the dark, going into the uncertain and the unknown, probably being able to take risks as well, getting out of a certain material comfort zone is another important thing with this. So, going to therapy, in terms of a career, counseling people, being a mentor or life coach or therapist can be a good thing, where you're really, understanding their emotions of what other people are feeling, but you are really learning about the darker, more mysterious side of life. And there is this idea that you need to understand about not feeling like you have to own everything to be able to enjoy it. To just allow things to be what they are, to allow the flow, to allow the water to come out of the fountain without having to own that water. Sitting at a pond or a waterfall and just watching the water flow. Because the second house deals with Taurus. It's a very sensory-oriented house. It's a very sensual house. So engaging in the simple pleasures of what you can enjoy with your senses in the present moment can be another thing with this. But it comes down to, not feeling like everything has to be owned by you and yours, that you don't have to have such a tight grip and possession over it. And so regeneration, you're here to experience that whole death rebirth cycle. Maybe there's an idea about death that you are not comfortable with, or you're not comfortable with the idea of purging things, of letting things die and be released, and let go of from your life. And so you're here to learn about the value of regeneration, of what can happen when you purge the old ways of being, the old things that you have that no longer work for you, and transform through the process of releasing, and you find that fresh energy. But that can come from not holding too tightly to the things that you have, but being loose. So again, accepting help from other people is super important, because there's this feeling with the South Node and second house, and certainly for the South Node and Taurus, that you have to do it all on your own, that you're the one to be absolutely self-sufficient. And you couldn't rely on the resources and support of others, the practical support of others, the emotional support of others. But this lifetime is about that. And so, yeah. And so, you're also here to connect deeply with others. And, an emotional way to have deep, emotional connections with other people. And to, have bonds with people, to bond your energy, tie your energy with another. And so, yeah, and transform, grow, and evolve with that person. So you're here to connect with others in a deep way that's beyond the superficial connection, beyond seeing people as resources, seeing, what they could be good for. How can they be, efficient and productive and useful in the jobs that they could get done, and all those kind of things like that. So, in past lifetimes, forming these deep connections was probably not a huge focus, but you're here to really connect deeply with another person. You're here to do deep spiritual work on yourself and others, really understand yourself on a deeper level, perhaps doing a lot of shadow work, and those kind of things like that. And so that's what the North Node in the 8th house is all about. So if we look at the South Node in the 3rd house and the North Node in the 9th house now. So the South Node in the 3rd house. So maybe there were previous lifetimes where, because the South house deals with your thinking, it deals with communication, it deals with your community, your neighbors. It also corresponds to primary education, like, grade school, grades 1 through 12, and siblings. So there is this comfort and familiarity with the South Node and 3rd house with your family or friends or community and immediate environment. You're so familiar with connecting with other people on an intellectual level, messaging, exchanging ideas, networking, sharing information, communicating in all the different ways, writing, speaking, all those kind of things like that. The 3rd house also deals with short distance travel. So you might be, one to go on a lot of short distance trips, as opposed to traveling to foreign cultures and foreign lands, and exploring lands and cultures and people that are very different and foreign to what is in your immediate environment. So that's also another aspect of the 3rd house. So, you're really tuned into the little details, the nitty gritty, when it comes to communicating with other people, all the little details and collecting the information. You're sort of like a sponge that gathers up all the little bits of data and information that people are saying, and all those little details in that. Taking in new information, really getting very absorbed into the opinions and words and thoughts of others. There can be a sense of small-mindedness that can be there, um, where you are so sucked into the little details of what they're saying, their thoughts, their opinions, the sakes and the livelihoods of the people in your immediate environment, where you're connecting with those people in those kinds of close ways, so sucked into the details that you're losing sight of the bigger picture, that you're losing sight of, the real meaning and the real, spiritual meaning behind the words that people are saying, and the real, the bigger picture and points that they have to say. So there is this high concern with staying in one place and, again, too caught into the opinions of other people, to the point where it can lead to being very scattered, and it can lead to analysis paralysis. It can also lead to indecisiveness, where you're not sure what path to take because you don't want to disappoint or let down this group of people by the path and by the decision and the direction that you want to go down. And so you're sort of caught between what you want and what this group over here wants from you. And so there is this tendency to get too caught into the information, that, again, you lose sight of the larger vision. So with the indecisiveness comes inaction. You're so, indecisive and so caught in the details and the logic that you lose a sense of the action and the real spirit and the enthusiasm and the joy and the energy, the real ambition that you have to just take action towards a goal that you want to achieve, focusing your mind and attention on a goal, on a target, having a sense of direction in your life, having a sense of focus. And so you're here with the North Node and Ninth House to acquire higher spiritual knowledge and higher spiritual meaning, especially in your interactions with other people. With the North Node in the Ninth House, it also comes down to learning the universal truths, and the universal laws as well. So you're here to look into religion, a religion, a faith that resonates with you. You're really here to find your own spiritual truth. The whole idea of, religion, not, blindly committing to that, because, it's not about that, but it is finding your truth through religion. So, religion, this can be spirituality, finding your own personal truth that goes beyond your, in the intellect, the logical mind, and the truths of other people. You're going beyond just the perspectives of other people, and you're turning it within yourself to find your own personal truth. You're here to explore your own philosophy, your own outlook and perspective on life. And, examine your belief systems. Are they uplifting? Are they positive? Are they joyful? Are they optimistic? Do they give you a sense of meaning and direction and a sense that you can, accomplish great things and live a fulfilling life? Or is it a very negative philosophy viewpoint? So, again, seeing the world from a broader lens, you're sort of here to outzoom that. So traveling, exploring new cultures, getting involved in new ways of being. Publishing is also a great sort of career choice and thing to get involved in with the North Node in the ninth house, since it also rules publishing. But ultimately, it comes down to trusting your intuition, trusting your inner knowing that goes beyond the opinions of others, that goes beyond your logical mind, where you have this sense of, this is the right path. This is the direction that I should go in. This is what I need to do, what I need to say, where I need to go. But for some reason, I need to rationalize it and make it logical and get all the facts and information, where there's a sense of not having enough facts, not having enough information before making that clear decision. But it really is about trusting the invisible, trusting your intuition, and going on that path and not being apologetic about it. This feels right for me. This is the path that I want to go in. No apologies, no inhibitions, and all those kind of things like that, where it's okay to disappoint people now and again if it means that you are heading in a direction that is true and right for you. So, so finding your higher truth, finding faith, understanding faith is, really, really important. Finding the wisdom through your life experiences, turning that knowledge, all those facts that you've gathered, into wisdom is going to be super important. Turning, it's like alchemization, turning lead into gold, and those kind of things. So, that's what it comes down to. So now, if you have the South Node in the 4th house and the North Node in the 10th house, this placement is very similar to having your South Node in Cancer and the North Node in Capricorn. So if your South Node in the 4th house, there is a sort of, I don't want to use the word babyishness, because I would open myself up to criticism potentially. And I am not the type of person to, talk about, you're being babied and, quit being a baby, all those kind of things like that. And saying that as someone who is an Aries, well, that's just a negative way to stereotype the Aries zodiac sign. Anyway, so I want to be clear with the South Node in the 4th house that you're very connected to your feelings, you're very connected to your emotions, you're really connected with your instincts as well, and there is a strong bond that you have with your family that is really, really strong and very intense, where you can get so sucked in and so enmeshed in your family life, and so being overly concerned with the emotional needs of other people and taking care of everyone else around you. But where are the boundaries? Where is the self-respect that you can get through this? So, these are huge things like this. And, it really is about living in the present moment, doing what you can in the present moment, because the downside of this is getting caught in the past nostalgia, getting caught in the ghost lands of the past, wishing things were different, and, with the whole family life living situation, and that environment where you were dependent on other people's and you allowed people to take care of you, and you were overly, consumed with taking care of other people. So too caught into the past, getting overly consumed by nurturing and being nurtured by others. And so probably getting caught in the emotions and nurturing at the expense of yourself. Another sort of deal with the South Node in the fourth house is reacting emotionally without having a sort of objective and logical perspective and outlook on the emotions that you have. Because it's one thing to, you can feel your feelings, don't suppress, it's not wise to suppress or hold back your feelings, to bottle those feelings in. It's also not wise to just, blow up and, react very negatively and or explosively in a way that is not mature and not from a place of wisdom and self-knowledge. Okay, well, you can feel your feelings, but then express those with, again, responsibility, accountability, and maturity. Um, you know, so that's a huge thing. So, taking responsibility, um, reacting responsible to something, and actually doing something productive and practical about those feelings that you have. With the South Node in the fourth house, there can be an insecurity or a feeling of inadequacy about getting out there in the world, where maybe you're afraid that others are going to judge you, or there's not this insecurity of, where you can get in your own way of not standing on your own 2 feet. Where the North Node in the 10th house is really about getting your act together. It's not about being too overly dependent on other people to provide you that strength and to provide you those resources that you need. Where the world can be too overwhelming and too scary, so that you retreat back into your nest, so that you retreat back into the comfort zone of your family. Staying small and getting so caught up in that comfort zone is not necessarily on path for you. Now, the 10th house is the midheaven, which is the career sector of your chart. It deals with, the midheaven deals with your highest calling, your real purpose in this lifetime, sort of the highest potential that you want to achieve. The 10th house is about, your reputation, your status, your recognition, how you want to get looked at in this life. So the North Node in the 10th house really comes down to getting out into the world. What's your status and reputation? Really claiming that. It's about getting recognition for your talents and your work that you have to give, and really, achieving goals and finding a true sense of empowerment through the goals that you can achieve. So you're here to focus on a career path, your professional life. And so you're here to have a goal and commit to it with a lot of persistence and discipline, to not give up, to stay the course, to, to persist and sort of take that step-by-step process to put the hard work and the time into achieving that goal. So you're really here to understand the value of hard work and discipline, and not letting your emotions get in the way of that. Now, another key thing with this placement, as it is similar to the North Node in the 11th house, is to look at your emotions objectively without getting too caught into them. I'm feeling these feelings, but this is the logical way to, again, respond and do something about to those emotions, where responding to the emotions and not reacting is going to be important for you. So looking at your emotions logically and from a rational, pragmatic perspective is going to be important. In this lifetime, it is also about planning, strategizing in your mind, and figuring out what are the steps to achieve the goal, and focusing on a goal that you want to achieve. So, it's about working. What do you have to strive for? With the North Node in Capricorn, you're really here to take ownership of your life. Where if you haven't been in the driver's seat of your life yet, you're really here to take the lead, be the leader of your own life, and to not neglect your needs and your wants and your ambitions for what you want to accomplish out there in the world. And so you're here to really follow your own path. What's a calling that you have, or a dream that you have that you want to manifest into this reality? The North Node in the 10th house is about committing and giving back to society, contributing to society, and perhaps doing something for the greater good. Putting in the hard work to do something for society as well. So, if you have the South Node in the 5th house and the North Node in the 11th house. So, with the South Node in the 5th house, it's very similar to having your South Node in Leo and North Node in Aquarius. So, you really have a strong self-knowledge about what your talents and creative abilities are. Your creativity, because the 5th house is about your creative expression and the things that you want to do creatively. So knowing who you are, loving who you are, claiming who you are, all of these are positive traits where celebrating who you are comes so naturally to you. Knowing what you can do. The 5th house also had children, so you may have loved and put a lot of value and adoration and emphasis on your children. Maybe that was a huge priority for you in a previous lifetime. The thing with the South Node in the 5th house is that you craved being the center of attention, that you thought that you were perhaps a king or queen. You wanted everyone to provide you with exactly what you wanted and needed, and wanted everything to go your way. You wanted everyone to give you the attention and validation and love and recognition. You wanted people to achieve, to appreciate your creative abilities, your creative talents, and what you have to give to the world. But it doesn't feel like you're getting enough validation, enough attention, enough love. And it will never feel that way until you integrate that North Node. So you can get too caught up in a sort of suction cupped vantage point of, that's all about you and you alone. You're the center, you're the all end all. And so there is this tendency to become egocentric, to want things your way, to perhaps there's an arrogance that comes in with the South Node in 5th house, where the ego wants what it wants, and at times it may stop at nothing. Because Leo, which corresponds to the 5th house, is a fixed sign, and fixed signs have a lot of will and determination to go to the ends of the earth to achieve what they want. And so, there is this defensive, where it can be very difficult to accept and acknowledge and be open to the opinions and perspectives of other people, where you shut others down, you close others off, and you judge others for probably being in a different status or place in society, or different, or perhaps below you. that can be something. So maybe it's not easy to be open to the ideas and values, perspectives of other people. The image that I think of with this particular placement is, again, being a king or queen on a throne where everyone provided you things and you didn't, where there's this view of not viewing people as equal to you, but viewing people as sort of additions to you shining in your own tale, in your own story, in your own narrative. So, what needs to be worked on is seeing people as equal to you and really being one in humanity. Maybe with the South Node, you were brought up and raised in a royal and wealthy family, which has a lot of wealth. Or maybe you were alone as a child and you weren't, there wasn't a whole lot of time to develop a whole lot of social skills where, you could work on, connecting and collaborating and getting along with others. So, being alone is probably something that can come in with the South Node in the fifth house. Selfish is used as a sort of dirty, negative word. And the shadow side of Leo is becoming vain and becoming selfish. And that's one of the shadows that, if there's not a whole lot of conscious, effort and conscious, attention and awareness put on this placement, then when things don't go your way, it can be, you could slip into being selfish. So with the North Node in the 11th house deals with your friends, your social networks, your, deals with your community. It deals with also you and your friendship alliances. It corresponds to the sign of Aquarius, which is about the masses. It is about humanity. It is about, you're really here to consider what is for the highest good of all. So you're here to take all those creative talents and gifts that you have and empower other people with a sense of self-confidence, with a sense of personal power, with a sense of glory and shine and love for themselves, where you can empower other people to be their own authentic selves and express themselves and shine in their own spotlight. You're probably here to share the spotlight with other people. And so with the 11th house, you're here to share those creative talents that you have with a group or a community or an organization. You're here to contribute to society. Another key thing with the North Node in the 11th house is perhaps getting involved in charity or another humanitarian effort where you're getting off of yourself and your personal life and you're focusing on the greater good of humanity, the greater good of all, and being charitable, and being selfless. Sacrificing and thinking about honoring the needs of others in a healthy way. So, you're here to cultivate your social skills. You're here to work on these social skills with, connecting, collaborating with other people, adhering and valuing their ideas, networking. And so, focusing on these global issues, again, was for the highest good of all and not just for me, really putting the we before the me in this lifetime. and connecting with the masses. With other people, you could innovate something new. You could, have, original out of the box ideas that you are sharing to others, and that you're coming up with creative solutions with others. You are innovating something with other people. Again, coming up with original ideas, inventing and experimenting with others. And so, again, seeing people as equal, treating people as protagonists and leaders of their own story in their own light, really acknowledging the gifts and talents of what other people have, and really seeing the diversity, the unity and diversity of other people, and accepting people for who they uniquely are, no matter how different they are from you, is important. Maybe something that you could lend yourself to do is do something to make for societal change. And anything that, again, you're giving back to your community in this lifetime. So now if we were to focus on the South Node in the 6th house and North Node in the 12th house. So if you have your South Node in the 6th house, what is comfortable and familiar to you? Well, it lies in the practical, because the 6th house deals with the practical day-to-day work, your daily routines, co-workers, your job as opposed to your career, how you make money. It deals with self-care. It deals with your physical health, your habit patterns. All of these are 6th house matters. So you're very familiar with the logical and the practical. The mundane work, the details of your life, the little things that really define who you are as a person. Where it was all about your daily routines. It was all about taking care of yourself, your physical and your emotional health. Where maybe you spent a lot of attention was placed on your work and your professional life. But another huge important aspect of this is service to others, where lifetime after lifetime you were in service to others, where if you had the ability to do something and if you could get something done, then it's about doing it. It's about taking action. Where, do you need something? I can provide you with it. Where you use the logical mind to be of service to other people. And this was so huge, where you probably overworked yourself being in service to others. You were probably a martyr, over giving, and not doing it from a place of love and truth, but from a place of, I'm the one responsible, and I am the one that has to get the work done. And so overworking yourself with displacement. So, over giving to others, where it's natural to, see a problem and just pitch in and help and, just, do something and, help another person without necessarily taking time out and replenishing your energy and taking care of yourself, taking time out for yourself. Another negative tendency is perfectionism, where, things have to be a certain way, things have to be perfect, and things have to follow a certain plan or a certain routine that you intended upon things being a certain way. Where, the need to always fix things, the need to always improve things, being on high alert and having a really high strung nervous system if things did not go your way, and for the things that were wrong, and for the things that need fixing. So another negative tendency is over analyzing a situation, getting too caught up in the details, possibly being overly controlling, because with a South Node in the 6th house, it can be very difficult to give up control over the physical, practical, real environment, which is the practical plane. So, really, that can be, a tendency where it has to be your way, and you're the one to put the work, and you are the one responsible. And so there is this need for things to be perfect, and a need for things to be right in an efficient way. And so, too sucked into the plan of, it has to go a certain way. And this lifetime is really about surrendering, where the universe might throw a wrench and curveballs into your plans so that you can let go of things need to be, the mindset that things need to be perfect and things need to be a certain way. Maybe, you could imagine every worst possible scenario that could happen, and over worrying, and so caught in fear in previous lifetimes. But that's sort of, now we're moving to the sort of South Node in Virgo, which I don't want to confuse those two. So too sucked into the plan. But now it's time to surrender to God's way, God's plan. Let go and let God, do your best and surrender the rest. And, the real power of spirituality when it comes to surrender and acceptance is important here. So with the North Node in the 12th house, you're here to come face to face with your hidden enemies, with the unconscious, because the 12th house deals with hidden enemies. It deals with, stand up for a second. The 12th house deals with deals with the unknown and the unseen, of what sort of information and what cannot be seen and acknowledged and understood on the tangible, real, practical, level that involve what you can perceive, and sort of the information that you can get from your 5 senses. So, trusting the invisible, embracing the unknown, and, stepping into the unknown. You're here to experience something that is immaterial, something that goes beyond the mundane, practical matters of the, day-to-day things that you have to get done in your life on a daily basis. And sort of the tasks that you have to get done, the jobs that you have to get done, the details that you have to take care of. You are moving beyond that to something immaterial, something more mystical and spiritual, and embracing the mystical and spiritual arenas of life are really, really important. Going into the unconscious. What's important with the North Node in the 12th house is to really do self-care, to focus in on self-care rituals, especially them being rituals, especially self-care practices in this lifetime. You're here to take care of yourself. You're here to nurture and nourish yourself on a spiritual level. And so you're here to sort of look at your soul's health, take care of your soul. And forgiveness is also another key thing here. But a huge part of this is connecting to a higher power, putting your faith and your trust in God or the divine or a higher power that you look up to, and surrendering to that. You're here to trust the universe. You're here to understand that when one door closes, another one opens. You're here to go with the flow and allow things to just be what they are without you having to control them. And, this should be a certain way at a certain time when I want it, all those kind of things like that. Really releasing attachment to the form in which things come in is going to be huge. So going with the flow, tapping into that flow. You're really here to take time to yourself. Take time for yourself. Take time for introspection in this lifetime. So spending some time alone for reflection, really getting, connecting with yourself on a spiritual level as well as other people. So that's important. So so spending time alone to, recharge your batteries, to replenish, refresh, and re-energize yourself is going to be important. Really drawing boundaries to, where I'm not, serving other people over here and I'm emotionally and physically, mentally exhausted from this, but now I can draw boundaries and now I can replenish my energy and put my sort of gas mask on first before I go and serve others. So this lifetime really is about trusting your intuition, not getting so caught up in, the logical mind and the the little details. And so you're also here to listen to the hidden messages people are sending to you. Looking for the signs, following the signs, the omens. Really it's about tuning into the feelings of other people. That can be really, really important. So, tuning into what other people are feeling on an emotional and spiritual level. It's about, well, this person is feeling this, so I'm, sitting with it. And I'm going to use my intuition to figure out how I'm going to help this person as opposed to just using my logical mind all this time. Hearing what the person is saying and really sitting and taking time to meditate and reflect on what they're saying. You're here to really tap into compassion and empathy, what those things mean, and unconditional love, really connecting with others on a soulful, spiritual level, and having self-love, because there can be tendencies with a South Node in 6th house to judge yourself so much, to criticize or be so hard on yourself for not being enough, for not doing enough, for, having all the shoulds in the world, that I should be doing this, for not, working hard enough. So really speaking and being kind and loving and understanding and accepting of yourself is going to be important. So being unconditionally loving and turning the service and the hard work that you gave to others and what you did to help others, and turning all that within yourself. And so once you love yourself and respect yourself, and knowing that you are enough as you are and that you have done enough, then you can then love others unconditionally and help others and connect with others in a way that comes from your heart, from your truth, from a loving, energized place of self-respect and self-love. So, engaging in the spiritual fields, engaging in things like art, astrology, etc. All those kind of things are huge for you. Also, opening up to fantasy and imagination, sort of allowing your imagination to sort of lead the way. And really looking at the vision, the larger vision for what you want to create, as opposed to getting caught in the little details of, how you create it. But you have to have a vision, you have to have a larger idea for what you want to manifest. And you have the talent to manifest that. But it is about having the vision. And so looking at tuning into your inner world is important. Letting go of your attachment to things being a certain way, and also people being a certain way, because there is this tendency to want to change other people, to want to fix or improve others for not meeting up to your expectations. But it's allowing just people to be themselves, and stop trying to change and control the circumstances of your environment all the time and change other people. So, and just taking a break from working and honoring the needs of your body and mind, and resting is going to be really, really important. And so, where you're just allowed to wonder and have a healthy sense of curiosity, where it's okay not to know the answers, and for things not to be a certain way and certain, where you're wondering, oh, that's interesting over here, and you're just allowing life to be what it is, and you are trusting the universe and going with the flow. So that is the North Node in the 12th house. So now let's move on to the South Node in the 7th house and the North Node in the 1st house. So with this particular placement now, if you have the South Node in the 7th house, then you may be really caught in a relationship. Now, relationships with the South Node in the 7th house, this is a big life area for you, where you may crave the love and affection from another person, where in the past lives it was all about you in relationship, being with another person, maybe not having as much of an identity and individuality apart from that relationship, where it can be difficult to see yourself as an individual, and only getting so caught up in seeing yourself just through the eyes and perspective of another person. So sharing a lot of connections with other people, possibly being married, having that kind of long-term relationship with another person. But the downside can be codependency, being overly dependent on the other person for self-validation or resources or attention, and to provide you with the things that you needed or wanted. And so, so not having a strong sense of who you are. So, it can be easy with the South Node in the 7th house to get too caught up in the opinions and expectations of other people, what others think and expect of you. Where, really being the yes person and being codependent, saying, oh yes, I'll do that, and it's fine, you know, with the other person, but underneath there is this fire burning inside of you that says, oh, this is not fine for me. This is not true for me. What am I doing? Well, what you're doing is you're devaluing yourself. What you're doing is you're cutting yourself off. What you are doing is you're not, respecting who you are through this process. And you're lying to yourself, and you're, putting yourself, your entire self on the back burner. So, getting caught in what other people expect and think of you too much. So, there can be a tendency, when conflict arises, to brush certain issues under the rug. But, being a doormat, who gives into others' needs and wants at your expense, where you're not taking care of yourself, where you are sacrificing yourself and your individual truth of who you are when you are doing this. Because there is not enough of a strong self-confidence and self-assertion, that you can gain through, the South Node in the 7th house. It's different than if you work with your North Node in the 1st house and you integrate that into your life. So, it can be easy to just give up, your needs and not fight for what you want and avoid conflict, and aim for peace and harmony at all costs, even if you have to bend over backwards, and even if you're not happy and feeling peaceful and content and, positive inside of you. So the 1st house in astrology is really about who you are, your individual self, your identity. It also rules your appearance, your physical body as well. So you're here to develop yourself. You're here to understand and learn and discover who you are. You're here to be independent and self-sufficient, take care of your own needs. Really going after your own spiritual mission in this lifetime. And you're also here to build a strong sense of a backbone and self-confidence. It's about pursuing the goals and the things that you want to achieve and being who you are unapologetically without sacrificing those goals for, the other person's dreams and wishes. It's about exploring your personal style and, what you like and, what you value. Another thing with this is drawing healthy boundaries. I'm only going to give this much of my energy and this much of my attention and care to this person. I'm not going to overdo it. Where, the 1st house is the Aries house. And Aries can be very direct and very decisive and very straightforward and clear cut about, okay, I'm going to draw this line in the sand and I'm not going to put up with this. And so when you be true to yourself, when you stand up for yourself and take ownership of your own life, you can then better draw healthy boundaries to that other person. It won't take away that peace and harmony. It'll actually be increasing it, because true peace and harmony will not come from you being a people pleaser and you just giving into the needs and demands of other people when sacrificing yourself. So that's a really, really important lesson with this placement. So It comes down to really taking care of yourself, taking care of your own needs, and understanding what makes you unique in who you are and what makes you special. Understanding your place in the world as well, exploring your interests. Um, it also can be who you are as an individual in terms of your own individual strengths. It's about really being strong and resilient and powerful in who you are. Discover your personal strengths. Knowing thyself is that saying that comes with this placement. Claiming who you are is important. So any activity that you can do that fosters independence, personal growth, and empowerment, where you feel in charge of your own life. You can feel like you're steering the ship of your own life. You feel like you have a sense of power and authority and leadership and autonomy in your own life. Those kind of activities can be really, really healing and very fulfilling for you. Because when you know what you want out of life and when you take action towards it, then wonderful things can happen in your favor. And so, yeah. So, when it comes to moving on here, now we're going to be looking at the South Node in the 8th house and the North Node in the 2nd house. So, the South Node in the 8th house. So this placement is really similar to having your South Node in Scorpio and North Node in Taurus. And the other thing that I want to say is that you can sort of compare the house placement to the sign placement. That's what you can really do because there are similarities with this. But you really want to understand both the sign that your North Node and South Node is in, and also the house placement it is in as well. So, yeah. So, with the South Node in the 8th house, there can be, the South Node is what we're releasing. So you're going to be releasing, those themes to release are really going to be powerful for you. So, you're really working towards, if you have the South Node in the 8th house and North Node in 2nd house, you're working towards letting go of emotions that may be very dark and intense, such as jealousy or anger or any shadow quality, any shadow content or material that you may want to disown, any part of yourself that you're ashamed of, any negative, deep, dark part of you. So, what emotions, really the question is, what are the emotions that no longer hold value for you? And what are the things, what are the emotions, what are the habit patterns that are not going to continue to be sustainable for you in your life, and especially for the long term? So, so what emotions will hold you back and hinder you, and what emotions that are intense emotions can actually lead you towards more progress and growth, and you're achieving what you want to in this lifetime. So what no longer holds value and weight for you. So becoming jealous of other people, getting too caught up in the motivations of other people and other people's business, and also manipulative tendencies, where you can tap into other people and get them to give you what you want. So being mindful of when you manipulate others is huge. So the 8th house indicates probably past lifetimes where there's a lot of darkness and crisis points in your life where you're really transformed and evolved through crisis. And a lot of past lifetimes for you may have been very intense and very heavy and very dark. So with the North Node in second house, with the North Node in your second house, you are here to learn about, just like the North Node in the first house, that first quadrant of your natal chart, houses 1 through 3, really deal with who you are as an individual more so. So the North Node in the second house, if you have the second house is about your personal possessions, the money that you make through the hard efforts that you make. It's about your finances. It's about your resources and possessions. But the second house is also about your sense of self-worth. So all these themes are going to be very prominent in your life. Also, your relationship to money is huge. So, So making your own money, making your own finances, really making a living for yourself and taking care of yourself, this is what you're aiming towards, where you create your own possessions and you have ownership of these possessions. So you're really here to learn about and really live in the practical material world. Take care of yourself. Do what you need to feel good about yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your well-being. And defining your values, defining what is really important to you in your life, what matters to you. And again, developing a sense of self-worth and self-confidence. So, there's a tendency to rely on other people for resources and depend on others for, those physical possessions. But again, now it's time to be self-reliant and self-sufficient and take care of yourself and your well-being. So it's very simple. You're really here to understand the value of putting in the work, and the satisfaction that you can gain through staying the course through something and putting in the slow and steady progress towards a goal that you want to achieve in terms of getting money or getting a possession, appreciating what you have, finding gratitude for what you have, finding gratitude for what you are achieving as well. These are important things. And you're here to manifest what you want to. So planning your financial future is going to be huge. So you're here to use the Earth's resources and build wealth in this lifetime. So, being resourceful, creating resources and using the resources available to you. In building wealth, getting money, making money, becoming wealthy. And there is an understanding as well that money cannot buy happiness. That you can make money, but it's not necessarily going to fulfill you and be the be all end all and make you necessarily happy. It will make it easier for you, and you can pay for the things that you want to feel happy and satisfied in this lifetime. But money cannot buy happiness. So you really want to watch out for the tendency to define your self-worth through what is on the external physical reality. You don't need a new phone and this Porsche or, whatever external physical possessions for, your sense of self-worth. I want you also to comment down below if I'm looking at the camera or if I'm just looking into outer space and communicating what I want to share with you. So, anyway, going back to what I was saying. So, it's not wrapping your self worth around the external resources and becoming greedy and feeling a sense of dissatisfaction and not enoughness for the things that you have. It really can come down to validating yourself and having a sense of inner worth, inner abundance, gratitude for your possessions. And you're here to also understand the value of owning your your own things. So that's what that is about. Now, looking at the South Node and the the 10th South Node in the 9th house and the North Node in the 3rd house, which this placement is really similar to having your South Node in Sagittarius and the North Node in the sign of Gemini. So, if your South Node is in the 9th house, then maybe you've spent many, many lifetimes, or maybe you come in because there's multiple roads of belief about that, where some astrologers really, really put the viewpoint of past lives, and others are more focused on just the past, just your early childhood life, or sort of the gifts and the talents and the innate habit patterns that you come in with in your life that are just natural to you, that you can just do without, even thinking of it. You can just do, just in your sleep, basically. You can do the South Node in your sleep. So, the South Node in the 9th house. So, maybe you were really sort of a loner, a lone wolf, where you kept a lot of spiritual wisdom and understanding hidden away from the reality, where it wasn't necessarily a focus upon sharing that wisdom and that knowledge that you have, but keeping it to yourself. There can also be some know-it-all tendencies, some, I know all and I have all this wisdom and I have all this knowledge that I gained, that you feel like you don't need to learn anymore. But that can be the downside of the 9th house in Sagittarius, is preachiness and stepping into a know-it-all-ness, where, true wisdom is not thinking that you know all of everything. Those two parts of wisdom. What whiz? You're a wizard, you're really smart, you're really intelligent, but dumb, well, you don't know all the answers, and no one knows all the answers, no one knows everything. And where you're dumb, you're continually learning, you're continually exploring what you want to explore throughout life. You're continually growing and evolving as a spiritual being. So, preachiness can be sort of a shadow side of this placement. The upside is you could see the larger vision of something. You could see the bigger picture, the broader vision, and you have a very strong sense of your own spiritual truth of who you are. But in the sense where you're not open to the perspectives of others, where that can actually interfere with your connection with other people. Now, the 3rd house in astrology, which is your North Node placement, this is the house of communication, as I said before, when I spoke about the South Node in the 3rd house and the North Node in the 9th house. So, the North Node in the 3rd house, the 3rd house, the 3rd house is the house of communication It deals with your connection with others. It deals with your community and your immediate environment. That's what it deals with. It deals with learning, primary education, connecting on the intellectual level, all forms of communication and messaging. So it deals with, you're really here to communicate with other people. Spend some time and really get in touch with your surroundings. Get in touch with your community and immediate environment. Those things in your life, those little details that you may see as mundane or below you, are actually sources of wisdom or knowledge, where it's about going back to school in this lifetime and learning the knowledge that you need to learn, which can come from the people in your immediate environment, getting in touch from that, where you're here to sort of fill in the missing gaps, or the missing pieces, um, and learn new things and sort of acquire the knowledge that you didn't have in previous lifetimes. So you're here to learn new things and be open to learning. Gathering new information, seeing all different perspectives of something, connecting with others, really having, opening up your mind to curiosity. Another thing with displacement is having a beginner's mind. Is important, a curious, open mind to learn new things and acquire new knowledge. So, the focus is going to be on communication, as I said before. This could also be working on your social skills and communication skills, because there wasn't a whole lot of work and perhaps attention placed on this. Excuse me for a moment. So, let me just get up for a second. Alrighty. So, you're here to work on your listening skills. You're here to have conversations with others. You're here to work on those social skills of listening to the other person, what they have to say, and valuing their perspectives and their points of view, while also sharing your, knowledge and wisdom. And those conversations don't necessarily have to be deep and meaningful and spiritual all the time. They can be small things, small talk, about the little day-to-day things in life. So having those little moments, sharing those little moments, those fun moments where you can connect with people and get to know them without it having to be, open up the conversation to philosophy or, things of that nature. So, so getting in touch with people in your world. On a sort of goal and purpose oriented level, you're here to practice technical skills which involve, the mind, the logical mind, the intellect. You're here to really strengthen your intellectual mind and, logic. That's what it is all about. Approach goal from, planning, strategizing, and the intellect. And so you're also here to teach the knowledge and share that knowledge, and you can find fulfillment from sharing that knowledge that you have learned onto others. So self-expression through the communications, reading, or writing or speaking, singing, all those kind of things. This is really something that you can embrace and use to your advantage in this lifetime. And another thing is turning theory into practice. This can be huge. Because the ninth house is about, again, the larger vision, the philosophical grand vision. You're sort of looking out into the sky and seeing the goal that you want to achieve and the vision that you have, but what is actually going to be done on the practical, tangible level. So you're here to actually apply those grandiose ideas that you have, those visions that you have for your life, those ideals and philosophies that you have by working together with others, using your intellectual mind and getting into the nitty gritty, because Gemini, like Virgo, is ruled by Mercury. So you're really here to intellectually connect with the people in your world and build meaningful connections with those people. Now, moving on to the South Node in the 10th house. So if you have your South Node in your 10th house and your North Node in your 4th house placement, then with the South Node in 10th house, you spent a lot of previous lifetimes, perhaps, with the focus being on your career, on your professional life, on your status and reputation. It's just the reverse of the 4th house, and the South Node in the 4th house, the North Node in the 10th house. So if the South Node in 4th house was spending a lot of time, with family and at home, the South Node in 10th house is your work, your career, your reputation, where you worked hard, you put a lot of work and time and energy in to achieve your goals. And you're probably somebody who was in charge of a company, a CEO, a boss, an authority figure, somebody like that who made the rules and was large and in charge. That did the big things and made the money and those kind of things like that. So your status and reputation were really huge for you. So the South Node in 10th house can be very busy. There's a busyness with this placement, and ambitious. There's this need where you constantly feel like you have to have a goal, you have to have something to strive for. There's always some way that you can climb up a sort of rung on that social ladder. But in a way, you've already done that, and you've already mastered that in the previous lifetimes. So very ambitious. And you're used to being the one in charge, and you want to create the rules, and you want to be in charge. And it's easy to just go back to just getting the work done and, achieving what you want to achieve alone, on your own, and put your, mind to it and really commit to a task and put your all, into it, moving one foot in front of the other, and be really disciplined and committed to this task. But there can be some issues that you can have with authority figures, especially with others. So you can be at the low level defensive and not cooperating with the emotional needs of others, because there is this need to control things. There is this need to have it your way and have the goal be achieved in the way that you want it. So you can also feel both the South Node in the 4th house and South Node in 10th house relate to insecurity. But this insecurity for you can also stem with finding an insecurity of not allowing yourself to feel the emotions that you're feeling and tap into the more feminine side of your life. It can be difficult to want to connect with other people on an emotional level and be vulnerable and really swallow your pride, where you may be more used to business relationships where you were, with somebody in that kind of way. Now, if the North Node is in the 4th house, then the 4th house deals with home, it deals with family, it deals with your roots, your lineage, where you come from. It deals with your emotions and feelings, and also your instincts and intuition. That's what the fourth house corresponds to. So the fourth house north node placement is a calling for you to take a second look at the past, to examine your past family life, to really take a look at your ancestry, your roots of where you come from. Looking at your family history, the memories connected with, that, and and to feel the pleasure and joy and those emotions that you can feel, those memories. And so you're sort of allowing yourself with the North Node in the fourth house to really experience the full spectrum of emotions: joy, happiness, sadness, sorrow, all those kind of things. So you're here to connect with not only your own emotions and lean in and feel those emotions, ride those emotional waves, but you're also here to get in touch with the emotions of other people, and to acknowledge and validate others, and nurture and nourish others in emotional ways, and not judge them for their emotions. You're here to really create a lot of emotional foundations for yourself, where you can have a goal and you can get out into the world, and you can make money and do all these things. But where is the emotional foundations? Do you have the emotional security inside of yourself that you can come back to? So, emotional foundations. What else can I say about this? Anyway, so you're here to connect with your home and family. And, connecting with your home doesn't necessarily have to be your physical home, but it can also be your emotional, your inner home inside yourself. So it's really about dropping in and finding a stable home base, a sense of security inside yourself, where you are being present with your feelings, and you're allowing your emotions and your intuition to dictate the decisions that you make and the work that you are doing and the goals that you are achieving, as opposed to getting caught up in that those workaholic tendencies. So a physical home and an internal home is going to be really important. It's about, for you, trusting your instincts, and also your emotions, trusting, leaning into your emotions. So nurturing yourself with others, going with the flow also. And so sort of using your intuition, having your intuition, and allowing it to really guide you in the practical things that you want to achieve, in your goals, and those things that you want to accomplish and get done in your life. Now, the South Node in the 11th house and the North Node in the 5th house. So I actually have this placement, and this placement could be compared to having the South Node in Aquarius and the North Node in Leo. So if the South Node is in your 11th house, then you were over focused on your community. There is a dependence on your community, and you sort of, relied on somebody else to give you permission and give you the tools to, express yourself. Where there may be this feeling that you couldn't freely express yourself and be the unique individual that you are. So, maybe the people who have this placement were shy or reserved, coming from past lives, shy to open up their heart and express themselves and their talents and gifts and their heart energy. And I find that I am moving in a direction of my North Node, and I'm really opening myself up. Look what I'm doing on these videos. So I don't think that I resonate as with this as much as I did maybe earlier in my life when I was shyer, more introverted, more private. Yeah. So there's this, reserve and shyness that can come in, maybe being afraid of being judged by others for expressing yourself. So maybe, because the 11th house deals with your network of friends, it deals with your circle of friends. So maybe the people with this placement had a wide variety of friends, but you might not have felt close to them. There's not this close heart, emotional, genuine bond with those people. Yeah, again, it, maybe a judgment that comes in with being afraid of being criticized for standing out and being who you are. So this can be where you can get too caught up in what everybody else thinks of you, that it's not true for you, and you get caught up in the opinions of others, similar to the South Node and Third House. That you lose sight of how you want to express yourself and live in terms of your truth. Now, the North Node in the 5th house. First of all, the 5th house deals with creativity, self-expression. It deals with having fun. It also deals with romance and children. So you can find a sense of empowerment with the North Node in 5th house, where it's about empowering yourself to co-create your own reality, or to create your own reality. It's about really stepping on the path of your passion. Do what you're passionate about. Find what you're passionate about. Doing what really wakes you up in the morning and lights you up. So finding your creative talent or creative hobby and passion and desire, is huge with this placement. So creative expression is huge. Finding something that is something that you can manifest in the real world, that is you expressing yourself from your authentic heart place. This doesn't have to be just music or painting and all those kind of things, but it can be whatever you view as your own personal creativity. So in this lifetime, you're really here to connect with your true sense of authentic self. Leo, corresponding to the 5th house, can get a rap of getting caught in needing the validation of other people. But in actuality, the high road of this sign is for the Leo to take up as much space as it wants to, because it feels a sense of pride and self-love and self-confidence and courage for being who they truly are and expressing in a bold, charismatic way of who they are. And so this is about celebrating who you are and being your true individual self. And with the 11th house, this can be friends, this can be groups and communities. So it's important for you to manifest your vision in your life without being dependent on others to provide it for you. Not just, giving up and just providing, allowing, relying on others and being dependent on others to give you the tools for you to manifest this creative vision that you have. because that can be, a tendency. Another aspect of this is opening up your heart, allowing yourself to feel those feelings and connect with others in those heartfelt ways. As I said before, express yourself from your heart. Find ways to connect with your heart chakra. To embracing the warm, enthusiastic, bold qualities of Leo. Another important thing with the North Node in the 5th house is to embrace the present moment, to not get so caught up in the past nor the future, not get so caught up in the visions that you wish to have happen in your future and in your life, but embracing the present moment and doing what you can, where you can take responsibility for your life and do what you can in the present moment, and to enjoy the present moment, to have fun in the present moment of your life is also huge. Embracing the here and now is going to be huge. So sharing your feelings with another person. Another theme with the North Node in the 5th house is finding a healthy sense of self-esteem and self-confidence in yourself and your abilities and your gifts and talents. Really working on self-love, celebrating your individuality, courage, empowerment, all those things that I spoke about before are important. So with the South Node in the 11th house, people with displacement maybe can come in with low self-esteem, but this is about building their sense of self-esteem. So it is about taking care of yourself. And so, just having fun is sort of the lesson, what you sort of signed up for is to have fun, and experience joy and pleasure, and embracing your inner child and those, and inspiration, and what you want to do out of a desire, out of something that you spiritually want to do because you feel like doing it in the present moment. Not that it has to follow a plan or a schedule, or it has been, sort of passed through the security lines of the people around you, where doing things without always having to ask your group or a group of friends, permission, but doing it because you want to do it, doing it because you feel passionate and strong about it. And you're sort of, expressing yourself with, who you are. Maybe sharing your opinions and sharing your desires, and what you want to implement for social change, because that's the 11th house. It deals with, humanity. It can go as far as feeling like you couldn't speak up and express yourself in that in the group dynamic, and you sort of allowed other people to have their say and have their way. So but now in this life, you're here to take the lead of your life and really let your uniqueness shine. And Leo's ruled by the sun, and it's the center of attention. So you're really here to allow yourself to be the center of attention in your own life and shine in the spotlight, and to love who you are, and knowing that you're worthy of the love and adoration and fun and pleasure and joy that you can experience in this lifetime. Now, finally, last but not least, if you have the South Node in the 12th house and the North Node in the 6th house, this part of the video is for you. So, the South Node in the 12th house, it's similar to the South Node in Pisces. I have a whole in-depth video about the South Node in Pisces and North Node in Virgo. So, in past lifetimes, maybe you could have given yourself away to a higher power. Maybe you sacrificed yourself and sort of put yourself in a place of struggling to be, in service to others for your own personal needs and well-being. You really put that on the back burner. But you let yourself go. You let go, and you went through the burdens of struggles of getting taken advantage of, where getting caught in an illusion and deception can be sort of a downfall that you want to watch out for. About, well, this person may look like, nice and caring and kind and empathetic and harmless and innocent on the surface, but really they want to take advantage of you and they want to get money from you or use you or drain you. So, looking at those connections where you feel manipulated and emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually drained, those are going to be what you want to watch out for. So, in past lifetimes, the 12th house deals with spirituality, the unconscious. So, you might have spent a lot of past lifetimes in deep reflection, and getting lost within yourself, and losing a sense of reality, where you sort of meditated on, with yourself, spent a lot of time alone and in spiritual reflection. And so you sort of allowed yourself to connect with, the divine, connect with spirit, connect with the universe, and trusted the universe and trusted in that divine flow of living a spiritual life. And so, yeah. So, you spend a lot of time perhaps alone in a past life, in deep reflection and meditation, possibly in a prison, in an asylum, or an institution where other people provided the structure and routine for you and took care of you on the physical level. Now, another downside of the South Node in the 12th house is you can have the tendency to drift off into dreamland and escape, of being caught in the dream and the in the imagination. So, just adjusting myself here. Just gonna do this. Stand up for a second once again. Alrighty. So, in a past life, maybe you, there, with these tendencies of the South and 12th house, you could be very familiar with drifting off into dreamland, to, escaping reality, to getting caught in your fantasy and imagination and imagining a better world, a better life, a better set of circumstances, a better situation or relationship than what is actually in your real life, in the real world. So that can be a tendency that you can get into when things do not work out for you or when things get tough or challenging. So, falling prey to escapism and spending too much time in dreamland and spending too much time alone, which can actually be to your detriment when you do not do it in moderation, where you can sort of lose sense of what is actually objectively realistic and logical, and there can be a sense of anxiety and hopelessness that you can fall into, and you're losing sense of what is real and what is not real. Alrighty. So I am going to take a tic tac right now. Alrighty. So, um, yeah. So, um, when you spend too much time alone, there can be this hopelessness or, self-pity that you can also fall into. With maybe feeling hopeless or depressed or extreme blueness or sadness. And so, yeah. So you're very familiar with spirituality and also flowing with life and trusting the universe. But you're still really signed up to do your bit, on behalf of the universe. Because, you're very familiar with chaos, but now it is time to create order with the sixth house. Yeah. So with the North Node in the sixth house, which is the house of your work, your daily routines, your habit patterns, your co-workers as well. It's about stopping the you know negative act of self-sacrificing yourself and taking care of your physical health and your mental health is really, really important. Getting enough exercise, getting enough sleep, um, eating right, looking at your nutrition, all those kind of things like that are really, really important with the sixth house, North Node. So, and So you're really here to be of service to others, not necessarily too much in an only emotional way, but in practical ways. So being of service to others in tangible ways, maybe being a healthcare provider or a medical person or a nutritionist or someone of that nature that can serve and make a difference and help others in practical ways where this career and job choice allows you to focus in on the details and look at what is technical and help others become better and improve, help to improve other people and be a service to others. So, developing your own routines of I'm going to wake up and do this thing at this time. I'm going to set my own routines. I'm going to stick to them. I am going to be disciplined at them and taking care of your health and wellness and really creating structure in your life can really be fulfilling and healing for you and do wonders for your physical and mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And that can be the case for anybody, but particularly for you. So looking into the vitamins, the supplements, looking into an exercise routine, all those kind of things like that. So tending to the little details of your life, your physical health and so much more. Organizing your space, cleaning up the clutter, making sure that your space is neat and tidy, putting things into an efficient, useful order so that you can do the job done in a useful way. So yeah. How do you want to be? How are you going to be of use in this lifetime to yourself and to others? So, it's also really, really important to strategize and make plans because the South Node in the 12th house can get caught up in, just trusting in, the divine and thinking that it's all going to work out and, it's all going to be fine and dandy and, not you're not familiar with making plans. It's just whatever you feel like in the moment, whatever your intuition is calling you towards doing, wherever the wind takes you, whatever mood sort of steers you in. But now it is about looking into the logical mind and strategizing and making plans for, I'm going to do this in this way, I'm going to do this in this time, I'm going to set a limit and set a parameter to how much I engage in this introspection, in painting, in a form of, artistic, creative talent or escapism, or spending this much time alone. Putting a schedule and structure to it can really, really be important. And making a plan and sticking to that plan and following through with that plan and putting in the hard work to achieve that plan. Stick to the plans that you make is really, really important. So I'm going to do this in this way, and I'm going to stick to, this, where A plus B equals C, and so on. So really developing your skill of making plans is going to be important. And again, being diligent and following through on a plan. So doing the work, really facing the reality and taking responsibility for and ownership and accountability of your life is going to be important. And the other thing is, Pisces can get lost in a dream, and can be very spacey and floating off into the other world or the imagination or fantasy. So focusing on a task, really putting your mind to it and putting your energy into it, and getting it done and paying attention to the details is super important, where you can find the realization and the wisdom in the fact that you can do anything that you can set your mind to. So setting your mind to a task and following through with it is going to be huge. And so the other thing is having a sense of self-respect, drawing healthy boundaries. And because Virgo is very, very good at drawing those boundaries, taking care of yourself, your physical health, etc., not getting taken advantage of, and not focusing only on other people and taking care of the emotional, physical needs of others, that you lose sight of your own physical and emotional needs as well. So just as it is about service to others, it comes back to taking care of yourself and service, to yourself in this lifetime. So that is this particular placement. Those are all 12 houses. The South Node through all the 12 houses, and the North Node through all the 12 houses. This was a long video. I really, really hope that you enjoyed it and found a massive amount of insight and information and value. I hope this was very helpful for you, and I will see you in another video. Bye, everyone.